How's everyone doing this fine morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the country or in the world, for that matter? It's great. Well, great as it can be when you're super busy.
Start.
Also,
Squeak.
Miss Ant,
Yay! Oh, what? Huh?
I wanted to let you know that my roof is getting replaced today.
Oh, great. Hi, everybody.
So
I'll
if you
intro
guys
in a
if you
moment.
guys hear me talking and you hear like the house is coming down behind me,
Okay,
that is why.
so it's not a tornado, and it's only your roofers.
It's only my roof.
Yes, Kiri would like to open the stream with saying squeak, 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 which actually is dog for Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Reaper Pro Tips with your host Anne and disembodied voice Justin, who sounds like he's from the grave right now because I have not put him in my ear. That's the kind of Friday it is. Yes, all right, good deal, Justin. So, yeah, thank you for warning us that if it sounds like the apocalypse, it's actually not. Because with Texas, you never know.
Yes, correct.
Squeak, squeak back. Well, that's good. Those of you with dogs, did their ears prick up when the squeaks happened? It's been one of those days, guys. It's been one of those weeks. It's been one of those weeks where, like, you've got this grand, you start with this grand to-do list, and on Monday, you're really productive, and you're like, awesome, this is gonna be the best week ever. And then all the monkey wrenches fly in for the rest of the week, and you're just like, ah! That's my week this week. Ah. For the stream, I assume you mean Rugger. Although if you mean it in
Well,
normal, well, great. Whatever. Thanks for sharing. Hi, I'm Anne. Nice to meet you. But anyway, yes. So, hi. And your well palette arrived last night. All right, good, Val, because that means that now you can layer properly. This is important. This is important for your wolf, the future of your werewolf. I'm sorry. Your werewolf should be rejoicing right now. He should have a little party hat on. Anyway. Yes, good morning, everybody. Here we are on another Friday edition. Casual Friday edition, so I'm wearing my when the DM wags her tail, it's already too late shirt. Hopefully this DM is going to be wagging her tail. Now I need to fix my camera. Dark curses, why do I do this to myself? I'm never going to be in the same place again, am I? No, I'm never, ever going to be in the same place again. There I am, mostly centered. Perfect. Only a little anal. Because mini painter, right? If you are anal, perfectionistic, and detail oriented, you are bound to be eventually a legendary miniature painter. Trust me on this. My best friends have all of those traits, and they paint wonderfully. Fifth Monday of the week. I wouldn't call it that in February. I have hopes for this Monday because I got my DMV crap out of the way yesterday. So this Fry Monday, Mun Friday, should actually be decent if crammed with work. I mean, it will be crammed with work, but that's okay. I actually like days that are crammed with work, so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, Monday 5.0. No, I think it's a Friday. I'm gonna persist in my pesky belief that this is indeed a Friday. All right, what black am I using? In other words, what black, not a black, am I using for this? I'm tempted to use black indigo, but I probably should use blue liner. But I could use nightmare black. Oh, we haven't used nightmare for a while. Let's see how nightmare looks. And if nightmare is too blue, we'll back off on it. It is an achievement, Numbat. I got there and I waited for under an hour and got my business done. And I even was like nice to military people and let them cut in line in front of me because they needed help from the person who was helping me rather than the person that they had who was a trainee. And they were very nice, and one of them had just transferred to California from Killeen, Texas. So we talked about Texas. Very, very nice military young men. I always like meeting active military personnel when traveling or in random environments. Head car towed to Mechanic Kids Monday. Yeah, that's Monday for you. I'm sorry, Val. I'm sorry you're having a Monday. But yeah, the California DMV was nowhere near as terrifying as I have been led to believe. Like, you were indeed kind of concerned at several points that it might indeed swallow you and never let you emerge again, but it did release me eventually. And now I should eventually have a California state driver's license. Now I just have to go through the BS of getting my car license plates, which is fine. I didn't want to do it all at once because I didn't have necessarily everything I needed. You had to send your Vex back. Oh, no. I'm sad that your Vex was vexed. I mean, they did name it the Vex, so, Reaper. It's like naming a dog Lucky, except that it's the opposite, because really you're implying that the Vex should vex people, really directly, instead of naming a dog Lucky, and then the dog turns out to be the most unlucky dog in creation. Oh, I didn't even make an appointment Methophile, because I couldn't find anywhere on their website, main page, where to make an appointment. So I just went. I just watched they have a nice little electronic window that shows you what the average wait time is, and so I just checked it, and it was like around 30 minutes, so I went. It was quite vexing. Oh, I'd have to ask David about that, and I bet he's from Washington. He grew up in the Seattle area. But I think DMVs everywhere are pretty, annoying. Wisconsin DMV was annoying. Madison DMV was heck of annoying. Sorry. Bleep me out, Justin. Bleep me out.
It's fine.
I didn't drop an F-bomb. I guess Reaper Live. No, I'm so tame compared to Reaper Live. I shouldn't even care, right?
Hell, yesterday,
Reaper John. He just
Sadie,
subbed us.
Yesterday Sadie dropped like 3 of them during her show.
Oh my God, Sadie. But she's so sweet and innocent. Thanks for the sub, Reaper John. I'm glad that you still endorse us. And it is kind of funny that you endorsed us right after I dropped a swear word. So, I mean, maybe Reaper John is saying that I need to swear more on the show. We're going to use Nightmare Black. Or, as I like to call it, Nightmare Blue. I just wrote a PDF about this, people who are not my patrons. If you are in the mood to patron somebody about mini painting on Patreon, I am there. I am patreon.com/paintingbig. And I just put out a Patreon post about blacks and whites with Reaper MSP because I created the line, if you don't know that already. So I know all the paints and their makeup and why they work the way they do and how they work. So, yeah, if you're wondering about Nightmare Black and why it's Nightmare Blue, or how you could use Nightmare Blue, which is Nightmare Black, that's that PDF. We'll talk a bit about Nightmare Black/Blue. Yeah, people who can't deal with DMV just on its own basis realize that the DMV is its own reality, and they just need to put their face on smile mode, or at least cheerfully impervious mode, and just walk through it. Right? Just deal. It's gonna be annoying. So just go and, make it a vacation or something. You are working through the Reaper layer skill box. All right, so then you are a struggling intermediate painter then, I assume, Rugger. Am I correct? And I assume by your name that you are a foodie, in which case I am totally into that. My boyfriend David and I are also foodies. F is for fall. It's supposed to be Indian summer here. Over the next several days, we had, I think we got up to 82 yesterday. We're supposed to hit 84, 85 today. And, then we're supposed to get 90s. It's crazy talk. I'm like happy. But anyways, the last blast of summer out here, I guess. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to base coat in Nightmare Black. You can see how blue it is. I don't know if I want that yet, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to see if I like it. I mean, Ship's figureheads did tend to be very colorful, so that's why I'm going for the blue instead of a straight-up black or a blue liner, which would be far more black. For those just tuning in, like Rugger, what we're doing is this is the Ship's figurehead from for the gigantic pirate ship that's coming out in the Bones 5 Kickstarter that Reaper did this past... I guess it was earlier this year, Justin? Was it? Yes? Late last year?
The Bones 5? Yeah, it was 2019.
Oh, okay, yeah, late last year. That's right. So anyway, this thing is...
should be early next year, right?
Yes, yeah, right. So so that ship is gigantic, and it has figureheads, various figureheads, and this pirate girl is one of them, and you can see how large she is from her sitting in my hand. So we're painting her as if she is an actual figurehead, so we are weathering her. And I'm showing people pretty much on the front here just the various colors I'm choosing and how I am choosing to weather it. Because the figureheads were painted in oil paints and then were battered repeatedly by sun, wind, and salt. And so the oil paint just was slowly battered off, pretty much. Yeah, I know, right, Miss Imp? I actually get cold under 70, 72, I think is my tipping point. If it's under 72, then I'm freezing and asking David where my jacket is. But I'm fairly tolerant from there up to about 102. When it gets hotter than 102, then I start saying, "Ooh, it's hot out," and not enjoying it quite as much.
I guess that depends. Like, are we talking like a DFW 102 or like a Vegas 102?
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, you are right.
So like a Vegas 102, I imagine to us DFWites back when you were one of us.
Yes.
102 in Vegas is basically that's great weather.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. It was same with Arizona, right?
Right.
Yeah. We it was in the 50s here this morning.
So I guess the heat index of 102 with like a 70% humidity is really the miserable stuff.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's see here. So I'm just painting in these little areas. We're painting the areas like they are normally. Then we add the weathering at the last step. Just easier that way. But yeah, I really like the weather around here lately. I was very sad that I couldn't get a hot tub booking this weekend. I checked too late. They only let you book 3 days in advance, and it was too late when I checked yesterday to get in on Sunday. Because they book up very quickly, which is sad. We have a very nice pool, and it's actually just right outside my window right here. So I always, you'd think that would remind me to actually check the scheduler and book some time in it, but I've been bad lately. It's weird to have an apartment complex with a pool that I actually care to use. Like, I'm used to, like, hotels having pools on vacations. So when I go down there, it feels like I'm on vacation, even though I'm home. Alrighty, so we're just going to block this in a bit. And I'm pretty careful on my base coats because, well, it saves you time later if you don't have to touch stuff up. Yeah, when you live somewhere that's really, really hot, like a lot of the year, that's true, Miss Nip. I mean, Texas at least had a proper winter with ice storms and things. Where it at least got into the 40s regularly for extended periods of time, and usually had at least a few days of freezing in a row. North Texas, that is. And out here they have seasons too, so it'll get down to the 40s. This actually reminds me, I mean, minus the snow, but as far as like the summer and fall, this area reminds me a lot of growing up in Wisconsin. Wisconsin was a lot more humid, but yeah, we'll go there. But the Indian summer thing is interesting. We looked up our latitude yesterday, and we are significantly south of Wisconsin, so no snowstorms. But this time of year, and like summertime, where it's cool in the mornings and then it warms up throughout the days, because it just never got cool in the mornings in Texas a lot of the time. It just doesn't, right? Have you lived elsewhere, Justin? I forget.
Not significant enough to matter.
Oh,
So
okay.
no,
Yeah.
is just the short answer.
Yeah, so it's like, in the springtime where it's really nice and cool in the morning and then it warms up throughout the day. Like, that's summer in Wisconsin and it's summer out here in California. It's like, I just remember the thing that really galled me about summer in Texas was that you'd walk outside and still be 85 at night. And when you walked outside in the morning, it would still be 80. Um, and I kind of like the
Ah,
cool.
those July mornings.
Yes. I still, I like this kind of like getting down into the upper 50s. It's still nice, but you get kind of that little temperature shift throughout the day. And then it cools down in the evenings, so it's nice to like sit out. That's what I missed. It's weird. It's weird here because people actually sit out in the evenings and go out on their balconies in the mornings. And it's, in Texas, this just does not function, except in the springtime. It's like nobody hangs out outside, unless it's like grilling where they have to, and then they're drinking lots of beer to compensate. All right, so we got that, and I can see that I need to figure out what I'm going to do with these belts, if I'm going to make them the same color. I think I am. I think I'm just going to go for it, because if I look at this, I'm like, I don't need another color in here, right? Like, you would be tempted to make these belts a different color, and then you would regret it, because you'd get, like, way too many colors on the model. And it doesn't really make sense. I mean, I guess I could make them pink, the red, because of her skirt. I could repeat the color there. I was already thinking about repeating that color up there. So that is an option, but it means that the trim won't show up as well, and it won't set off the buckles as well. So the clasps there. So let me get her totally in focus here. There we go. And zoomed in. And I did color over the bottom little trim, but oh well. I don't want more colors. I just, there comes a time, guys, because remember, we're already going to have different colors for the guns. We're going to have different colors for the skin. We're going to have a different color for the hair. You really need to say no to too many colors on your model. Like, you really do. I mean, yeah, we could go with a cream, but then I don't like how cream looks against, like, a blue. I would have gone totally with a different color for the bodice, if I wanted to use a cream. So, I don't think that I really want... I mean, boring is one word, Dragon Eye, but when you've been like me and you've dealt with Wisconsin growing up and you absolutely hated it because you had no cold tolerance, and then you moved to Texas for 17 years and you get 105 or 108, you go to the Bay Area and you're just like, yep, this is great. Let's just go here. I could go back to the skirt green, but that's not going to give me enough contrast, because remember, this is dark and I'm going to highlight it up, and this is too dark. So pink is really our only option. It's not a bad option. I just don't think I like the idea, especially not because it's going to be right up here. I don't know. I personally feel like I don't need to make these belts a different color. I feel like they can be the same color. I can highlight them to make them stand out. And this is perfectly fair. Like, you do not have to always reach for a different color. If I was, I mean, the other option is I could make them a dark brown, but again, I'm coming in then with the same problem. Dark blue, dark brown. Two darks together. Don't really want that. And I don't want the problem with cream. You got to remember cream, when you use it, it stands out a lot, right? If it's against a dark. And that means that if I made these belts cream, they would stand out a lot more than I wanted them to, for sure. Just taking off some extra little connector points that we didn't get. So I don't want the belts to stand out. I want the attention to be here. I want them to see this great detail. I want them to look up here at her pose. I don't want them staring at her midriff. So if you get too tight with this detail and you get too much contrast around the belly, you risk drawing the eye there, and you really don't want to. It's not an important part of the figure. It's some nice extra detailing, but it's not an important part of the figure. The guns are going to be the brass and wood of traditional guns, Val. You say that, Iggy, but I'm sorry. I grew up in Wisconsin being made to stand outside for recess when it was, 15 degrees when I was a child, and it scarred me for life. Some people have a great cold tolerance and others don't. And I don't care how much I bundled up, I was always cold, and I hated it with a flaming purple passion. That's why I actually like the heat in Texas. I have no problem with it. Like, walking in 102 degrees, not a problem. A little uncomfortable, but not a problem. I can do it. Whereas the minute it gets down below freezing, I am just like, I am freezing all the time. Don't care how many layers you put on me. Or by that time you put so many layers on me that I'm just uncomfortable because I'm wearing too many clothes. So, yeah, I'm not a cold weather girl. I'm just not. So I'm happy with the climate out here. I would move somewhere warmer again. Like, if David and I imploded, which I certainly hope would never happen. But, I would move somewhere like, I thought about moving to Arizona, but I'd probably move somewhere like Hawaii if I could. Because warmer, temperate climate. And plus Hawaii. I mean, who wouldn't move there if you could? The things are expensive. But no more expensive than in freaking California, so.
As long as you have a guest room.
So I can adopt a Justin. The Adopt a Justin program.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's see here. We've got some strings and details back here. Ties and things. I have no idea what they are, so it's the back of the model. Don't really care at this point. Another vent that I totally missed. You guys can see all my messy, didn't bother to clean this up before I primed it thing. You're wrong, Shadow Raven. You're wrong. Actually, when I went to Hawaii last year in January, February, I spent a lot of time talking to the locals when I was there. When I was taking tours or whatever, I was talking to the locals driving the buses and doing the tours and things like that at the tourist attractions. And pretty much all told, they're like, yeah, I mean, just don't live in the cities. You can get by on about $50K a year to live here, which is not undoable. Like, that is not an undoable salary. Especially not if you're me and you can work a regular job and do part-time work at the same time. Or if, if my Patreon got good enough, I could do that. It's not an unattainable goal, is my point. I thought that was pretty reasonable. I mean, no way are you getting by in any standard of living here in Northern California on $50K a year. Like, you're living with bunches of other people at that point to even make rent. Right. Well, that's the point. You don't want to live in tourist land, right, Matthephile? Like, if you want to live in Hawaii, you gotta go outside of the trendy areas. But there's still perfectly livable areas that you can live in that are not an arm and a leg.
When Paul lived there, he said that basically without the home, I guess, not home. It is home, but it's like a stipend that they give you for the military. Right?
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
He said that without that, he probably never would have been able to live off base in addition to his salary because it was pretty rough.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
He also lived with roommates too, but he wasn't on Honolulu. He wasn't on, as he puts it, the Big Island. He was on one of the others.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it probably depends too. I don't know. I pretty much heard that number. I heard about $50K a year to live, decently in Hawaii if you're not living in the trendy areas. And so I don't know what Paul was getting paid. Probably not $50K a year at that point in time. No. Right. So I could see that.
But like I said, I think it's also had to do with the fact he wasn't on the Big Island. He was on one of the smaller ones, which I can only imagine that when you go away from the less the dense areas where things are harder to come by.
Right. All right.
He said everything is more expensive, whether it be fast food or you name it.
Yeah, Ancient Langdon, exactly, right. When I first was looking at moving out here, you could get an efficiency apartment for $800 a month. Like, that was what the guy I knew was paying. So, it wasn't in a bad area. So, yeah, now it is no way. No way are you going to get that anywhere. Box, pretty much. Exactly like you say, Val. Yo, Achilles, how's it going? Yeah, we're debating here on our. I'm debating whether this is going to be too blue. I have various little textures to suggest here on my happy little corset. So I'm just doing those little dashes, guys, just like I've done at everything. You can see them actually really well on the camera right now. I'm always going to use my brushstroke in the direction of the wood grain, always. Yeah. Hey, that's a little too close to home. I'm living with it. My partner is a as a Google engineer. Although I guess he's been at Google long enough to be a higher tier Google engineer. But no, we do okay. We do good. Though I don't know what I'm gonna do when David goes back to work. It's gonna be weird. Ever since I moved here, he's been working from home.
Yeah, Michaela's been saying that too, and she's gonna continue to work at home, I believe, until I think they said mid next year, even.
Yeah,
like,
that's what David.
really...
Yep, that's what David's. That's what Google said, I think.
And with that, like, obviously, as of Monday, I'll be, back up at Reaper for most of the time, so we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah. Interesting. Well, you do need to like do the whole thing, the new thing, the studio, that thing, the thing that requires you to be there. So I'm okay with this blue right now. I'm gonna lighten it up, guys. It's very, very blue. It looks more black in person, but it's very, very blue on screen. I'm gonna actually build another highlight for this, go over part of my existing highlight so that I can block out some of that very vibrant blue. So Nightmare Black is a very, it's made with a very heavy front load of blue pigment. So when you use it straight, it looks black, but when you throw white in it, it immediately shifts very strongly toward blue. So we shall see. Now this will make the weathering show up on it really well, and that'll allow us to dim down that blue as well. Oh yeah, interesting, Dragonite. Yeah, I know companies are going to do that. Like I was talking about that earlier this year, and David didn't think so, but I'm hearing about a lot of companies just deciding to stay remote because it helps them cut so many costs. Like it's like a trade-off. It's like we either really want the office culture that you can engender, or you maybe want to save money. You got to decide if your office culture is worth it to you, right? If you are a big business right now. Because, Google's got its huge campus here for all these employees, and I'm like, well, how much money could Google save if they didn't have to have such a huge campus, right? Really interesting, Chibi. Yeah, that's the cool thing to me, Agent Langdon, is like that this work from home thing, this pandemic, it's a good side effect, I think, because if you want to move closer to your family and stuff, you can do that, right? It's like suddenly you have more freedom than ever to to move somewhere that may be better for you. Whether either maybe the climate's better for you, or maybe just the cost of living is better, or maybe your family's closer, you want to be closer to your family. I just really like this trend, actually. I think it's cool. It gives people options, and I am all about freedom and options. So I'm lightening up my blue highlights just a little bit. They are going very blue still, so I think what I'm going to do is switch over and do the introduce the weathering, the wood weathering. I wanted to pick out these details a little bit before I did that. So I guess I'm not too dangerously blue for now. I do want to go all the way up into there, hit just a little bit of a highlight here. You don't need many highlights here in these kind of recessed areas. You want to do a little bit to show that you didn't totally forget it, but yeah, a lot of mini painters are coming from a tech or IT background. Geeks and nerds, many of us. A lot of engineers too. So yeah, just gonna put quick bunch of highlights just to get everything showing up here. Yeah. But now D&D is in again now, so this current generation is like being totally indoctrinated into D&D, which I adore. Agent Langdon. Actually, the funniest thing to me is I have a friend who I met through my dog club, and she was never a geek. But she started working for like the IT division of her company. She works for Sonic, the fast food place. She works for they're a good company to work for in Texas and Oklahoma. And she works for them. And then she got into their cybersecurity thing, and her boyfriend is a real geek. And so, long story short, she got indoctrinated by her various friends into trying D&D for the first time. And she was in her she's in her 30s. She's never, ever, ever done anything like that. She's played computer games, but she's never taken the extra step toward being a gamer. Well, now she's she's loving D&D. She just paid a 2D artist to sketch her character so she could try to get it turned into a miniature on Hero Forge. She's like totally loving D&D. Like, she's totally into it. And this woman is like, I think she's like 36. So I love this. I love this, that this is in our culture and that it is here to stay, and that, you know, despite all of the moaning when I was in college, video games did not kill D&D. Well, it's also just the prevalence of like fantasy and sci-fi computer games and RPGs that way, Chibi. I think that, you know, it's cool to see tabletop coming back in. And kids thinking it's cool. I like this. I like this, this whole thing. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, exactly. So it happens all over the place. It's really funny. I'm just always tickled by it because she has to admit now she's out of the closet. She's an official nerd. Official geek. And I liked seeing the kids when I was still at Reaper. The kids get, you know, being so into the role-playing games. Because, yeah, I mean, when D&D started, I was like 9, 8. I picked up my first D&D book at Target when I was 9. And painted my first miniature. Started painting my first miniature. I used the term paint loosely, extremely loosely, when I was 9. And now look at me, a crazy person, making her living as a miniature painter. Who would have thought? So we're just going to, essentially I'm going to concentrate with these highlights just to pick out details. I want to hit edges. When you're doing anything that you want to stay mostly black, you just want to hit the edges and the details to make everything stand out. You don't want to go overboard with them. The more highlights I put in here, the more this will look dark blue, and it's already going that way because I've covered up a lot of the black. So now we will take our wood grain stuff, our colors of wood, and we'll bleach this out. Interesting, Agent Langdon. Yeah. That's funny, Holly Monster. That's cool. I mean, it's nice to have the in-person thing and just, I don't know, the interaction. I mean, I like to every once in a while just go and play WoW too, but, you know, or just play a video game, but it's nice to have a group. I kind of miss having a gaming group because we don't have one here. David lost his gaming group when he moved away from downtown SF to be out here, and we haven't really, because COVID, we haven't really hooked up with a new group. Alright, I wanted to block in a bit of the gold here as well, but I haven't quite decided how I want to do the metallics and weathering. I mean, the gold would probably be like just flaking. It's probably that effect. And I don't... Yeah, they probably would have gilded this. In which case, I might just want to not leave the trim. I don't think I want to wreck... The problem with doing little details of metallics on some of this, like this inner trim, is going to be how to weather it convincingly. So when you think that maybe you won't just be able to get away with that because it's so tiny, just paint it like the same color as everything else. You don't have to keep it. That's just an executive decision. If I cannot produce an effect well, then I'm not going to do it. And I don't think those little tiny recessed bits are, or for that matter, the edge here, are going to be easy to weather. In order to pull off a weathering effect like this, you really need more area. So small areas aren't going to weather very convincingly at all. Okay, so let's just highlight real quick a little bit of blue on those inner edges. That's a long time ago. The first D&D is... I always forget it's very, very old. Older than you think. It just didn't get mainstream. When I got into it, the advanced D&D books were at Target. And the box sets for basic. So... And the advanced D&D books were just... To me, I was a kid who loved folklore and mythology. And so you pick up the monster manual, and there's all these monsters, you know, and it's like a lot of them are from folklore and mythology. So you're like, oh, neat, cool. Oh, good. Yay, bust, Chibi. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Justin, I think there's several people who've got the hairspray technique videos out there. They work best with enamels, I think. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember if Justin uses, like, I think he uses enamels. Maybe he uses acrylics. I'm not sure. I've never tried the chipping technique. I've just always resorted to painting a pattern if I want something like that technique. But it's cool. And if you have problems painting random patterns, it's definitely... cool. It gives you some neat effects. I've seen Justin from Secret Weapon do it in his classes at ReaperCon back when he was able to come. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen it done, Val. It does produce a cool effect. I just, you know, my hatred of solvents, so I won't go there. All right, and I want driftwood brown, which I put over here. Yay. And desert sand. Our friends of weathering. Yay. Yeah, I mean, we got a demographic that stretches all the way across the board here, really. There are very young Reaper fans and very old Reaper fans. And then a lot of us somewhere in the middle. So I know my nephew watches this stream every once in a while. And he's like 12, so he's probably the youngest. But I'm not sure on that. Maybe not. Alright, I need to... Wow, this synthetic brush is clogging up with paint already. I switched to a very, very cheap mixing brush for my paint, and it's already... I forgot how fast synthetics ruin. So it definitely does. The bristles just seem to wick more paint into the ferrule, even though I'm using something that's even bigger than my usual brush. Alrighty, here we go. Yeah, age, I mean, it is mental in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm not changing the way that I act anytime soon. Alright, so I thinned down my driftwood. I'm going to put it as it's almost a glaze. And it's gonna, what I'm gonna do is use it to kind of bleach out this blue a little bit. And suggest more brown. See, I'm bringing those colors in. Oh, doing a paint club. That's great. 8 and 5. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, I need to. Thanks. I'm gonna have to close the window. Hold on, guys. I was hoping to keep it open, but they seem to always start their tree trimming or their shrubbery trimming. Let me just go and adjust that quick. One sec. I'm so used to it at this point, I don't even notice it, but I should have. No more fresh air for us, Kiri. We want fresh air. We're just screwed. There we go. The Kiri is laid out. We should be pretty okay on the Kiri side today, but I don't want to almost say that. I should knock on wood when I say that. There we go. Alrighty. Let's get back to our happy little belt. It's pretty fresh, actually. It's not been smoky for a week and a half or so, Val. I mean, it feels pretty fresh out where I am anyway, because I'm right by two big parks. So I smell, when I walk outside, I smell trees. Even though we're just down from, like, downtown Mountain View. So putting in some driftwood. I've got to decide how I'm going to weather this straight up now. These recessed areas are going to be somewhat protected. This area is going to get the brunt of it. So I probably want to really bleach out, like, in here. And I want to leave a little bit of the blue here and there because some of it would stick. Switch to my desert sand. And here we want a thin line and kind of a speckle effect. We want the speckle effect to like have it, it's going to wear off in bits, right? Because the oil paint is soaked into the wood. And so you're going to get this weird kind of speckled effect. And at places where it's really vulnerable, it's going to build up and all wear off. And the paint is going to stick a bit in the cracks. This effect really does look very good over dark colors. It's much easier to get it to read over a darker color than a light color like the green, the light green. I want a little bit more. Yeah, exactly, Vander. That's why I like it too. Yeah, I really like where we live. We have redwoods right outside of our balcony. Since we're right by a park that preserved them, and this used to be the campus of an old school, long time ago, Eagle Park and this area, and then the park across the street on one side where I walk Kiri is actually the original, like it's Pioneer Park. It's the old Founders Park, which butts up right next to Castro Street and the government buildings and the library. So we live in a really beautiful area. Like I cannot complain at all about the apartment that David chose for us because it really is lovely. It's a really nice area. We went out last night to eat outside on Castro Street. Had some very tasty Spanish Argentinian fusion. But the really good restaurant, that's going to come on our 6-month anniversary. So that's next month, and I can't wait. I'm so excited. So it's nice how I can show you guys this now a little bit better. I mean, you can see it down here too. You can see the kind of way that I'm working. Where in some areas, the brown wood is showing, the wood is just showing through a little bit, just that brown. And then the places where it's really getting bleached out and rubbed off, then I'm allowed, then I can come in with that desert sand and really show some of the wear and texture, right? And some surfaces are just, when you got a dark color, it's just great. You can really show it. It was tasty. Our biggest problem was that they actually snuck some tomato into it. We forgot to check one of the dishes, so I had a little bit of a reaction afterward. But it was worth eating. Everything else was wonderful. They actually had a roasted cauliflower dish that I adored. It's the only problem with eating out. Sometimes you just don't know all the ingredients. And when you've got like things going on like I do, that can kind of bug you afterwards, but it was all right. It wasn't too bad. Alrighty. So, of course, partially, this effect working is going to depend on me taking it all the way up and down on all parts of the model. So I'm pretty much doing this stuff, even though I haven't finished out these areas. I'm trying to show you guys how it looks when you start doing the whole thing. Top edge. Like I haven't gone down into here, you mean? Val, you gotta keep your... This is, again, this realism versus stylism thing. If I went really light, like, yes, you'd get weathering down here, but you'd also get the shadow of the overhang here. So you have to remember, lining is a thing, contrast is a thing. I can put a little bit of my driftwood over there to make this a little lighter. And yes, in reality, it would probably be worn all away. But I, as Anne, want this piece to look cool, and so I need a delineator. I need this line. And down here, where I'm going to leave some ancient oak down here, I need that line, you know, and where I'll have more, I put a shadow under here. I'll need that line. You know, realism and stylism, you gotta ask yourself two things. One, is it realistic? Two, does it look good? Some people don't believe that, and they'd probably just paint it to be all bleached out, and that'd be perfectly correct, but it may not look as cool. It's always, you always make that call. Yeah, I don't have any, like that stuff doesn't, cross-contamination usually doesn't get me really, Carrie. It's tomato, and I made the mistake of thinking that one of the dressings on the meatballs we ate, the lamb meatballs we ate last night, was red pepper, because usually, mostly this restaurant uses that sort of thing, but it wasn't, it was tomato, and tomato is my big no-no. So... We were puzzled at first. We had to actually go back and look at the menu really close, like afterwards in the evening when we were at home. And that's when we saw the tomato. We just weren't as vigilant last night. It wasn't a, like, big emergency thing. That would take a lot of tomato. Like, I can't drink tomato juice or have, like, a pizza slathered with tomato sauce or any of that stuff, or I will be seriously feeling ill. But I'm not somebody, like, I'm not celiac or anything. I'm not somebody who, if there's a tiny bit of something in my something, who I'll have a problem. But if there's a substantial amount of something, like beef soups almost always have tomatoes added. Unless, you know, it's, like Texan, or, like, often Texans will use peppers instead. Like, I liked that. But you have to watch that, right? Because then it will definitely hit me. Because there'll be enough tomato in there that it'll be there. I actually don't, I don't care about the tomato. Like, I used to like V8, but my attitude toward what I have, toward my disorder, whatever it is, whether it's Crohn's like they originally thought, or if it's something else, because it's just a tentative diagnosis. We haven't done, like, exhaustive testing on me or anything. But, I mean, I never miss what I can't have. So, like, my attitude is always, like, not to fixate on that. It's like, it's a choice, right? I can sit there and whine about, or be unhappy about, like, you know, what I can't have anymore, or I could find the new things out there that I can eat that I like. So my choice has always been, even though I do feel sad sometimes about, what was it I was thinking about last night? Like, I really love pierogies, which are really a double no, because I am gluten-free, also, to go anti-inflammatory. And now, of course, I'm doing ketosis diet, so that's, like, really low carb. But I do miss things like pierogies and, what was it? There was something else yesterday that I was just thinking of that was glutinous. Glutinous and evil, but really tasty. I don't remember. Every once in a while I have one of those moments. But in general, I try to keep a very positive attitude. I was just blocking in that I noticed I had a rub-off area there, MCC, sorry. Chibi. You know what? I'm not going into details of how it presented, but let's just say it's definitely, it looks a lot like Crohn's, so we'll see. Not going to bore you guys with my medical stories. All right. But yeah, I was just blocking in, like reblocking in this because I had a little bit of base coat that I hadn't quite hit, or a little bit of blue that had gone down. So nothing important happened when I was out of focus. I'm sorry. Yeah, Chibi. It's just, you know, it is what it is. I didn't want to, I didn't want to get it investigated before I left Texas, because I want to find a good doctor out here and work with them to do it. That's my preference. But yes, tomatoes, yeah. I just try not to miss tomatoes. Luckily, I was never a huge tomato girl. There we go. You couldn't live without pierogies. I love pierogies. I do love pierogies. Like, I'm tempted to cheat on the diet every once in a while and have pierogies, but I try to make the rule of, like, never violating my diet unless it's for something really, really exceptionally amazing. So maybe if we went... Actually, we did. We went to a Russian-Ukrainian restaurant when we were... Oh, where were we traveling? I don't remember, but we... David and I stopped at a place that had essentially, like, potato pancakes and pasta filled with potato and stuff like that, which was a lot like pierogies. I did cheat a bit. Could not resist, actually. Good stuff. Yay, food. So here, Val, down here I could go lighter and bleach this out and make it all wood because I've got a dark color up next to it. It still might look weird though, because like I said, there's a natural shadow. If you look, there's a natural shadow that falls here. See, it's naturally darker. So if I'm looking at it from my light source coming down here, that's going to be quite dark. So I don't think I would weather it up and bleach it out because it wouldn't look nice at this scale. I think it would be too light. So if I do bring my driftwood brown in here to really say that the wood is worn away, I'm probably going to end up kind of going in with a walnut or something to darken it down afterwards. So there will be that hint of brown. But this would naturally be darker. So I got to think about shadows. Everybody wants pierogies, yes. Twitch being twitchy again. Yeah. I avoid the bakeries unless it's very awesome food. Like, that's really my rule. It's like, I will go off diet if we are eating at a place that has, like, superior food. Really superior food. Otherwise, I honestly don't want it. Like, David bakes himself a croissant, like, 3 mornings out of the week. Like, because he's got these freezer croissants from Trader Joe's that actually look super tasty, but I don't even want them. I trained myself when I first went gluten-free, which was years ago now, so I am well practiced. I trained myself to just look at baked goods and think poison. And it worked. It worked, actually. I can walk over and put my head down next to a box of freshly baked donuts, inhale, and I won't want them at all. Which is fantastic. It's amazing what you can do to your brain. Brains are so susceptible. Gonna get some of this over here. Nope, getting a camera. Decided I want some more of this up here so I can go up this way. Though I need some ancient oak if I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was really resistant to the gluten-free idea, but I just had gone through like several rounds of surgery, madman, and that changes your perspective. If you're me, at least, it changes your perspective. Pretty much everything else takes a backseat to, I don't want to be in the hospital again. And for me, I know for some people it's not a behavior changer. Some people would rather have their baked goods and just deal with any health issues that come down the pipe. And that's cool. I mean, to each their own, I guess. But me? No. If I never see a hospital again, the inside of a hospital again as a patient, it'll be too soon. I'll gladly forego bread. And I do, like, I allowed myself to have 2 little pieces of bread with the olive oil last night. Like, tiny little, like, because they were, like, little, like, biscottis almost cut in half. So I have it every once in a while, but it's a rare thing for me. I do miss tasty, like, cheesecakes and stuff. Yeah, hard to stream from a hospital bed. Ah, but you see, Agent Langdon, I am on the ketosis diet, which means I am on a high-fat diet, and I can have bacon. Bacon's great. More bacon, please. So I have the no pastries or bread, but steak, you bet. Bacon, more. Oh wow, you gave up rice. See, when I was doing low carb, that was rice. White rice is the only, like, basmati rice is the rice that I allowed myself. And I usually would cut it with cauliflower rice, because 1, I really like cauliflower rice, and 2, it makes it a lot lower calorie and a bit healthier. But yeah, if you're Asian and you're giving up rice, I can imagine that your mom is like, what? That's funny. Oh, Ultra Squid is here. Hey, Ultra Squid, how's it going? Ice cream is your kryptonite. Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest thing to do, right? It's just not to buy it, not to have it in the house. Every once in a while, I buy the keto, friendly ice cream, the low carb ice cream. And then I, like, some stress comes up in my life and I, like, end up eating half the container. And I'm like, all right, this is why I'm not going to buy this again. So I managed to hold off of it for another few months. And then one day I'll forget and I'll be like, oh, that sounds really good. It's funny. We had the most lovely homemade coffee ice cream last night at this restaurant. You get used to it, Agent Langdon. It depends. Like, if it's coconut milk, then yeah, it can be a bit chalky. I find the almond milk ones are actually the most like actual ice cream. Oh, hold on. Oh, wow. Crazy. Food coloring, huh, Rings? That's crazy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Everything, yeah. If you're going to buy pre-made, I absolutely agree. It's with you, Magnetic. Is that it's all expensive stuff. Yeah, if you're going to buy good keto ice cream, it's going to be bloody $6.99 a tub or something for a tiny tub. Yeah. That's why it's a treat. That's why I just buy it every once in a while. I can't remember the brand that I like, but they have a banana chocolate chunk that's really good. Yeah, I'm not supposed to have cashews. Sadly. I do miss cashews. I do like them, but I can still have pistachios and almonds, so I'm okay. Cashews aren't a nut. They're a legume, if you didn't know that. They sell them like they're nuts, but they're actually beans. Oh, I love coconut. Like, okay, if I had to go off of coconut, then I would be a super sad Ann. I would do it if I had to, but dang, I would miss it. So we're getting in some more of this stuff so that I can go up and make this stuff up here look right. The model gets more and more painted. Slowly. I do need to do the pink on this side, though. I know it's just so funny what tastes different to different people. Like, it's just like the thing with cilantro where it tastes like soap to some people. And then some people just really hate the taste of this or that thing. And some people really hate curry. I don't know about those people. I think maybe that they're suspect. I love curry. Let's see here. I'm going to throw some white into some of my desert sand and make an even higher highlight like I used on the green here. Cilantro is soap to you. Oh, yeah, if your wife is allergic to coconut, that's terrible. That's too bad, especially if you like it. So you got to definitely be careful. Yeah, we don't really have any food allergies between David and I think we're both able to be, other than my tomato reaction, we're both able to be pretty... Oh, no, I dropped my desert sand. Pretty adventurous eaters. All right. Oh, love those. Yeah, magnetic gumby. I love anise and pineapple. Oh, well, more for me. More for me. More for me. There we go. Got some white mixed in with some desert sand. So we can do some higher highlights. I love fresh cilantro and fresh guacamole. Like that. Otherwise, I can take or leave cilantro. Although I guess I do a slaw for our fish tacos. That's a cilantro lime slaw with some honey, and I love that stuff. So I guess I am when it comes to certain foods, I am definitely pro cilantro. There we go. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, Magnetic Gumby, in a good salsa, but then, unless it's a salsa made with peaches, I have it. Although it is kind of cool that I can have that peaches actually do make pretty good non-tomato salsa. It's neat. So I'm going to take some lighter color here. Even lighter. This is my desert sand mixed with white. And you can see how much paler it is there. So now is when I start kind of troubleshooting and saying, okay, maybe I want to fade out more of the green up here where it's next to this area. Because probably the seawater is getting trapped up here significantly when it hits the underside of the model. So let's just bleach out. I want to tone down the green here. Make sure that it looks like it's getting abused. I mixed up my ancient oak so that I could add some lining here. Bring in some darker green. That's a little bit dark. Need a little more water. Yeah, I can have tomatillos, actually. Mango habanero salsa, yeah. But then you've got, like, habaneros. I can't take stuff that's too spicy. I do love Indian food. And sometimes that gets a little bit spicy. But we kind of tested my system the other day, and I can handle more spice than I thought I could. I'm going to add in some darker streaks here. I kind of did a little mix of ancient oak and my green color to bring in. I want to bring in these streaks more. And I thought I might do this because it kind of suggests that maybe some dark color from this is running down. And I liked that idea. You should all be able to do weathered wood after watching me do this, that's for sure. Hey there, Jairus. So, all right. All of the weathered effect, all of the colors for the weathering are the same across all of these different colors, from the pink on up to the ancient oak, on up to the middle green, on up to this nightmare black. And the colors that we're using for that are pretty much just based on, faded wood colors that I've noticed in the environment and on my pictures, my reference pictures of figureheads. So not so much the driftwood brown, it's more that I wanted a kind of a fade in color that was medium, but driftwood brown is my go-to for wood that is starting to weather. And then desert sand is the one that we're primarily using for a lot of the lighter effects here, like this here is desert sand. And then I mixed a bit of desert sand with white for a even lighter highlight here on this light green, because the lighter you go with your ground color, the lighter you need to go with your weathering highlight just to get contrast, just to make the texture stand out. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, mostly when people go habanero, it tends to be way too hot for me to be aiming, but that sounds tasty. I mean, I love mango. So I'm going to take in some of this light stuff and do those like little dots and, you know, dash marks to suggest that this is all like coming away. Remember that you want to use like dots and streaks to suggest that everything's coming up. You don't want to just do lines. It would be irregular. The weathering would be irregular. But it would have a pattern to it because wood grain provides the underlying pattern. All right, so here. And mostly I'm taking this as if the raised, not the underside areas, but the straight up areas are getting hit the hardest because remember, she's facing down. So I've got to both, I both have to retain some of the shapes here, some of the shading. Like I'm going to run into a problem here on the shirt unless I add a little extra shading, which I probably will do now. I'm going to mix up some cat's eye green plus a touch of ancient oak. Because what I'm losing here is the texture. See, I'm adding in all this weathering, but I'm losing in the features of the folds. I'm really, because the green is so light and I don't have a darker shadow. So I'm going to actually reach for a little bit of a shadow, even if it is not strictly realistic. Again, that's a realism versus stylism thing. I could eat Indian food probably every night, although mostly I'm limited because I can't have the rice and I can't have anything with tomato in it. But sag paneer, any kind of sag really, is my favoriteest thing in Indian cuisine. All right, so you're gonna have a green that we're mixing cat's eye green with just a brushful of the ancient oak to make it darker. That's pretty much the color that I originally used for my dark streaks on the green here. Throw some water into it. Want to make sure I'm bringing my shadows back in. Trying to make a green that's more of this darker. So that's cat's eye plus ancient oak. And I'm going to thin it down and use it to bring some of my shadows back on this lighter green. Well, that's what we're doing. Like, the lighting highlights are not going to be this pale color. They're going to be a paler green. So natural highlights, like here, Mathophile, these are natural highlights. They're done with a lighter green. And they start to fade out a little bit here and there with the brown. But in general, they are not the same as here. So there will be highlights that are not weathered highlights. Like as you go back on the model, I even have gone a little far here. I probably need to bring it back. But as you go like horizontal to where the wave action is going to be, or you know go back toward the back of the model, you do more regular highlights here on the side, and you do the weathered highlights concentrated on the front. Unless you're bleaching out the whole thing, of course, which is your choice, but I don't want to. It's a different hue and no texture. Like all this little like gritty stuff that I'm doing here. And yeah, I mean the hue is predominantly the way you do it because you're dealing with the natural woods, so you're bringing in wood colors to do that. And mostly, as I said, this is a compromise with the shadows. Like I could paint darker brown in here if I wanted to, but I'm gonna start at least with the green and bring in my highlight and my shadows again. Then maybe I'll work a little bit of the driftwood brown over the top of the green shadows. But I mean, you can't do everything photographically perfect, but you can get close. You need to actually make sure that you're still like showing people what you're trying to do. So I went too far with this green. I probably need to cover up some of this driftwood color. Come back at it. And make this less weathered because it's on the side of the model more. She wouldn't have as much. And I was in my happy zone, and so I was not paying enough attention. So maybe there is okay and there's okay, but when it gets to here, but I need to blend it in too. I can't just start and stop at this line. Different hue and different texture. But yeah, here on these guys, on this side, it's a smooth texture, right? This green is a smooth layered for the most part. I'm still going in the direction of the wood grain. I'm still showing some of the wood grain, but I'm not going to do this like gritty. See how it's gritty and broken up? Where it really looks like the paint's getting worn away? I'm not doing that texture, this spotty kind of dash dot texture. I'm not doing that anywhere, which is where it's normal highlights. So it's both texture and color that hopefully imply what you're looking at. This light color, like I said, this is difficult. Very difficult. And actually going with a cream would be the worst possible thing to go with on any part of this model, probably. Because it's too similar to the wood colors. You may as well just bleach it all out. What was that? I didn't catch that, Val. Gonna bring in some green. Yeah. Sometimes you just lose a little bit of your shadows, and then it doesn't look like cloth anymore. You need it to look like cloth, but you need it to look like weathered cloth, and so you go back and forth. And like I said, I could bring in a darker brown for some of this if it's going to be like weathered more. I could add a little brown to my driftwood. Just kind of blocking in some shadows there. But I do want my shadows, so I need to be able to see the cloth and how it's moving. You can see one where I've gotten way out of line. So kind of bringing that back in. But yeah, this is definitely the hardest part, is working with these light colors. They do not want to read the way you want them to read. Because the shade, the light or dark ratio is very similar, pretty much the same between driftwood and desert sand, the greens I'm using here, these light greens. If I'd gone with all medium to dark colors on this, it would look a lot better. And it wouldn't be giving me these challenges, but, you know, whatever. I think I need a little bit of the wood grain line. We lost some of the wood grain lines too. And I probably do need to bring in a brown for those, for some of these areas. And this is once again where you run into reality versus having to make details stand out, right? Because ideally, in these crevices in the wood, you'd have this light bright green. You wouldn't have a shadow, but it has to look like a shadow because it's a crack. So then you have to use a darker green or a darker brown, and so you aren't really being realistic there, but it's the limits of the scale of the thing. This thing is still not a life-size figurehead, so we're not able to be completely realistic. We have to make some sacrifices. I still really like the dark green the best as far as the texture, although I think this pink is going to fade out really nicely too once I get at it. And I like the black. But yeah, that's getting better. So I really want to cut my weathering, or fade out my weathering here. I'm going to bring in my dark green down here. Is there... I wanted to ask you guys, actually, because I'm looking for another Reaper model to introduce. I really want to finish, like, Juliana one of the days next week. Maybe 2 days, depending on how much she still got to tweak. But is there a subject matter that you guys wish that I would cover? Like, a type of model is what I'm looking for, that I should look for to get from Reaper. Like, a type of model that you would like to see me paint on the stream. Type of model or particular subject matter, but not like, you know... Like, I know I'm doing Fire Giant, and, you know, I've done the fiery stuff. I'm doing the wood stuff, and I'm doing, you know, like a character in cloth and a character in metal. Unfortunately, Reaper doesn't really have, like, a lot of sci-fi. Crowley Hamster. What in particular, about sci-fi? Like, what are you looking for specifically about sci-fi? Let's see. So I'm going to get some brown mixed up here. Hold on, guys. Let me grab... I think I'm going to use Driftwood plus... Russet Brown is a really good combo. If you need to darken Driftwood or you need to lighten Russet. They work really well together. They're both very yellowy browns. 91.99 is Russet Brown. It's one of my favorite browns. I already did that one image. Yeah, I already did one of those. The transparent stuff. And it's not something I really enjoy. I would probably cuss a lot. That Justin would have to bleep me. I mean, actually, Rax just painted, if you're on my Patreon, Rax just painted a great magma elemental in transparent. And he did it exactly the way I would do it, is really, you've got to figure out what parts you want to be transparent, or to show light, if a light is shown, you know, through the model. And then you paint everything else with layering up opaque paints. And how much of the model you want to remain transparent is, you know, how much you don't touch, you know, or only put a little glaze of maybe a transparent color over. Something with a lot of skin. Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't done anything with a lot of skin. That's a good idea, Shadow Raven. Let me look at that. I like that idea. Hold on. Let me write on my happy sticky note. And model with lots of skin. Because I am trying to swap up, you know, switch up my subjects. Reaper, model, Reaper order. I do need to order a couple different paints, and I want to get a few models. I'll look for a model with lots of skin. Yeah, not really into mouselings. I mean, it would be a way to talk about fur, I guess, as a particular type of fur, but it's only a particular type of fur. I'm going to go for one with lots of skin. I guess I could look at the mouselings and see if there are any that I really love. I've painted several mouselings in the course of my time with Reaper. And it's not like people typically have trouble painting mouselings, is the thing. But I'll look at them. Manticore or Chimera. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna do a Sphinx Mathophile. Like, I've still got this one. This baby is coming up. Like, she's gonna come into play at some point. So, Fur Feather I got covered. Statue. That's a good one. I could get one of the awesome Greek statues that I love. But they're, I think, are they out? Are the Greek pillar column statues out, Justin?
Let me see. Wait, yes, actually, I think they are.
Okay.
I think they are. 'Cause I remember seeing them when Ron was talking about them. Because I don't think we could show them on the stream.
Ah, because
Because
naked. Well, I could totally show them on the stream. All I need to do is paint a bikini over things and do some modifications. Like I could give them bikinis and we could paint them just fine. We just couldn't paint the naughty bits. People would just have to deal. I have done that before. I have used sticky tack to make bikinis for naked models so that I could show them on, because Patreon doesn't want you to do not safe for work either. So, but anyway, there's a thought. I will order them perhaps. And is there a naked and a not naked version, or are they all naked and it's just clean or weathered?
I think they're just clean or weathered. I think they're all naked though.
Okay, well, excellent. I will order them. I don't put tape on magnetic Gumby because then it's the risk that it's going to pull up. I find the adhesive on tape to be much stronger than sticky tack. I find sticky tack very easy to use to put over painted areas, and it doesn't ever bring it up.
Yes, they are out.
Yeah, good. All right, well, maybe I'll look at that. I've written it down, so that's enough. That's enough suggestions. Cool. Mostly I just look for models that I think I'd like to paint at these days. But every once in a while, I appreciate it. Is Mathophile trying to logic again? No. Logic and rules have nothing to do with each other, especially not at Reaper Miniatures, Mathophile. Certainly not on the internets. I went too dark with that shadow. Oh well, it's gonna have to blend it. But anyway, I should be doing more weathering anyway. Although I'm liking how this is doing, and that's right, I was bringing that up. And I brought in my browns, that's right. So if I was gonna shade down here, I'd probably bring in a darker brown like that. And that way it would still imply that it's not the same color. Did a little bit extra. Just take a wicket off. Slurp, 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 slurp. But yeah, I would probably just use some browns for some of this shadow too. So if I really am in an area where I feel like I need that shadow, but it's the browns instead, then I probably would take this and I'd layer like not only the green, but also the brown in here. The brown is going to look like a more natural shadow. So that's starting to bring out a little bit of this, and this should be brown because there's weathering all around it. So kind of bringing that brown in has helped with create a more natural shadow. So some of these we just have to play with a little bit and see. And sometimes you have to paint over some of your texture work to bring back your shadows and then go back in. Oh, them's fighting words, Mathophile. Don't say miniatures aren't geared toward art. I'm in the school of miniatures are art. So I don't agree with that at all. I mean, it is what it is. And there are just laws across various states and things like that. Everybody's got to be compliant with whatever and cover their butts. So you just find ways to work around it as an artist. I'm going to grab a little bit of my driftwood and see if I can't lighten this up a bit by adding in more of my wood colors. Now that I've got this nice shadow, I can fade it in a little bit, bring in some of my weathering. Yeah, exactly. Somebody exploited the system, and then we can't have nice things because it's easier to make a blanket rule than to go case by case based on intention and, exactly what's going on. Because much as you might like to make it a case by case, there comes a time when you just don't have the effing time. And so you just make a general rule. It's frustrating. Infinitely. Oh no, my Discord is bleeping at me. Because I keep muting it and then it keeps unmuting because it's dumb. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So apologies for the bleebles, guys. It was me, not you. Alrighty, so now that's looking better. Now I can see my folds again. They look more natural. Oh, I know. Yeah. Twitch having the scantily clad women on stream. I'll have to go mute my Discord again after this and hope that it sticks this time. So, okay. So essentially introducing not just the green, which I had before for a shadow, but introducing some browns in here have enabled me to keep my weathering idea intact while still bringing in a more naturalistic shadow. And then you can see the folds on the dress again. So now I can, take some liberties and extend some of my weathering a little bit into this area, especially where the fold would stick out. Just a little. I want to keep my shadow, but I want to suggest that the texture is still there. So like so. Yeah, I have screwed around with it so many times, Reaper John, and it seems like I have it fixed, and then it'll just start doing it again because Twitch and Discord and all the rest of it. So I will simply go over and try to silence its butt again. It's better if nobody sends me messages during the stream, but sometimes people forget.
There is also a streamer mode that just to save all hassle at all, you could just flip that switch and be done with it.
Yeah. Where is it in the settings, Justin?
It's in the settings under, I think if you go to settings in Discord, you should see a mode that says streamer mode, dashboard, somewhere in there. Let me go see if we can find it.
Yeah, John mentioned it in chat, but I have just been muting the server, but apparently that doesn't stick very well.
Yeah, that is definitely an issue I've had. Just because basically I have muted an entire server and somehow still got bloops from stuff. I hate Discord for that reason, personally. The only way I've found to completely get rid of it is actually falsely putting on streamer mode because, I don't want to hear it.
Right. Alrighty here. So hopefully you guys can see how that has kind of helped here. So we've kept our folds. We've gotten our folds back so we can see our actual sculpted folds in the fake cloth. And then we can still take our lighter browns and kind of interrupt and still get our wood grain in here while still keeping some of that shading. All right, thanks, Reaper John. Let me make a note. I'm never gonna remember all this stuff. I got a huge to-do list today. Discord, streamer mode.
Yeah, it's just under. As soon as you hit the settings button, it's an option right there.
Okay.
It's you can't miss it.
All right. Well, at least it's convenient. All right, I have made the note. Excellent. Thanks, guys. I tried to mute it and do the sound settings under notifications, but it doesn't stick all the time, Aesel. You work inside a giant snake methophile? That's, it's hard to see in there, isn't it? I suppose if you've got, like, screens, though, it doesn't matter. Like, you can still use your cell phone inside of a giant snake. Hypothetically, as long as you have reception. I don't know how giant snakes actually block reception. I've never done that experiment, so... There. That's a little better. I do that often, Trashorama. I often have my PC off. The only computer that I tend not to have like off is just my MacBook, because that's where I do all my writings and Patreon updates and thingies. It's about where my vocabulary is at today. Thingies. All right, so that's looking a little better now. Yeah, I didn't want to call you out, Rax, but if you can call yourself out, shame on you. You didn't know I wasn't muted, though, so not your fault. I totally blame Discord on this one, because I have muted it, like, more than once, and it ought to have stuck, and it seems to always get reset, so I blame Discord. And now I gotta, like, kind of blend in, but fade out. See how I'm doing this here, guys? I'm, like, kind of bringing in a little more green. I'm glazing a little bit. I'm fading out my, my texture here so that I can, you know, have just a bit of a fade off here. And I want to extend some of it a little bit back further just so I don't have an abrupt end at this grain here. But in general, I'm trying to fade out so that more of my texture is right up here on this raised leg, which is where I want it. And then it fades out a bit, going back here so that I have normal highlights and shadows back here. And I'll bring these up. I probably will also bring these up by adding in a little bit of the desert sand and white. Or I may use bleached linen, which is very similar. A lot of white with a touch of like a desert sandy type color, to put further highlights here. So I'll highlight this normally. I'll still be doing kind of a streaky highlight because wood grain, but I won't be doing this texture, this color combo. So then that way it'll read as a regular highlight, like it does here, natural highlight, and not the weathered. Back to work for you, Zero? That's okay. Don't worry, don't worry. Alright, so yeah, so you can kind of see different setups then of what we've been doing here. We've got just kind of faded out with a little bit of our driftwood. Then we've got adding in a little bit of our desert sand here. Then we've got more of our desert sand plus white doing the actual texture on this part. And then we've added in some more naturalistic shadows, not just green to shadow green, but actually a little bit of brown, which helps work with our wood because it's actually made of driftwood and russet brown. And that helps to bring our natural shadows a bit back in. Macros for Roll20. Fun. And I could do the same thing back here. I could bring in a little bit of this brown into the shadows on the back of the model here to get a more naturalistic shadow. Ancient Oak has a generally a more natural shadow just in itself, but I also remember used some walnut in here, some warm brown, or some, you know, some very black brown to get more natural shadows in here, if you can recall. That's how we got this nice dramatic effect on the skirt. So we're just pretty much using a lighter brown to shade this green up here to get the same sort of thing. Because it's a lighter green, so you wouldn't want to use walnut. Just because using a dark version of a color to shade another color isn't always the answer. Like, it tends to look very, I don't know, unrealistic. Not really cartoon. Cartoon's the wrong word, but it's simplistic and it's not real. So it's not the way that things actually tend to shade. So it all, again, depends on your painting style, because some people really like to have saturated colored shadows that are in line with the color they're using, and that's cool. But you don't have to do that. You can get other effects other ways. So now that's a much more natural looking shadow. It's not just green shading green. And it tends to look more real. Thanks, Polaris. Yeah, I mean, it's coming up on the belts on the... There's, like, numerous belts across the corset, the bodice, I should say. And this is... I was mentioning earlier that this is a technique that looks much better on darker colors. Like, it looks really good on the ancient oak of the skirt, for example, because all of the details can come out, right? And then up here, you've got even more drama because we're using Nightmare Black, which is a near very, very black and blue, and you're coming into that with much lighter colors to bleach out that color. So it looks much more dramatic, and so then it looks more realistic. The eye catches more of that detail. In reality, the weathering is actually strongest on the green, the light green here, because it has to be in order to make it look right. But you don't see the details as readily because the green itself is so light that you don't get the automatic contrast that you come in with the blue there. So yeah. So, and then the back of the model is going to remain painted the way that it hypothetically was, freshly painted. And we're just starting to weather the front part. So let's back up and get in focus, because we're almost done. She's so big that I almost have to raise my camera up. So if we just get the part that's weathered in focus, there we go. So now we've got to probably bring in more weathering here. I've got to figure out the gold here so that I can remove it, chip it, essentially. Which should be pretty easy. And we've got to bring our weathering over. I have to finish my pinks down here. Maybe we'll finish the pink and really work on weathering the pink maybe next week one day, depending on how much I feel like working on her. I'd like to get the bottom part of her, except for the boots. The boots would be the last thing I do, since right now they're my means of holding the model, and they're a good, strong thing to hold. So I'm taking advantage of the boots, and the boots will be the last thing I do. The boots also... I just really have to decide. Like, this one is very much tilted away from any wave action, although we get, like, kind of the sploosh coming up the bow of the boat. So these would be weathered, for sure. And I'm probably going to do them in the black, like the Nightmare Black. And then her skin will be skin. So, but I think I'm going to wait till the end, and then I'll cushion her body in, like, some cling wrap, and then paint these guys. It'll be the last thing I do. So yeah, so that's the way we're looking right now. I like the dark corset, I figured, or the bodice. I figured that it would help because we needed more dark and light alternation here. I do want to take some ancient oak and see if making the interior of this bodice darker will work. But while I do that, Justin can tell us if there's anybody cool to raid.
All right, let's see here.
Since we didn't have a queue emergency, and I started about 6 or 7 minutes late, but it's a quarter after already. Yeah, I think I'm going to be okay with this. We'll see.
We have Sky Daddy. We have not rated her in a while.
Oh, hey, yeah, we haven't... I actually rated Sky the other day for my channel, but we have not done it for Reaper. So, yeah, what's she working on today?
It looks like it's pumpkin themed. So
oh
Halloween,
yeah,
maybe?
she said that she and her streamers were gonna do a lot of Halloween stuff, that they were all excited about it. So that's awesome. Okay, guys. Well then, this is what we're doing, and actually I like this up here. So we're gonna go with that, and yeah. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And stay tuned for some Patreon stuff for me, for some of you. Otherwise, I will see all of you on a Monday. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope I answered questions sufficiently. And I hope everybody gets a nice, good regeneration time this weekend. Regenerate your energy. Be ready to hit the week with everything you've got on Monday. All right. Have a great one, guys. And what do we have going on later today? Do we have Reaper Land and Reaper Errant and stuff?
We have Reaper Land, and I believe we're doing a Bones 5 live update.
Oh.
As of now, though, it looks like it's going to be remote, because I was hoping the I was hoping the roof people would be done, but it looks like they're
Ah,
not going to be done for several more hours. So
right.
I will be here. So we'll be doing another remote version of Reaper Bones
Mm-hmm.
5 Live. Sorry, is what
Okay.
it is.
All right.
Yes.
Cool. Cool. Well then, come back around for all that, y'all, and we will see you again on Monday. Adios.
Thank you guys very much, and we will see you guys at 3 o'clock for Reaperland.